Greetings and welcome to this episode of Conversations about Meditation. I'm excited today. I have one of my pips. That's what I call the people that meditate with me. They're called partners in practice or pips. And I have Gina Washington, who is an artist and a mama out of Cleveland, Ohio. So we're going to be in conversation. I'll get to find out how Gina got into meditation and a whole lot more about her because she's got some interesting things going on in the art community. So welcome in, Gina. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you for having
Excellent.
me here.
I'm so
Yeah,
glad to have you. You know, we meditate regularly, so I feel like I know you.
pretty
So
much.
yeah, pretty much, pretty much you and your cat and your dog and the whole
hmm
family. So welcome in. Well, I like to start this by finding out how people either fell into or discovered meditation and how it became a practice for you. So let me know about that. Tell us about that journey.
Well, that's a long conversation. I'm kidding. And let's see, this past 2020, of course, was the pandemic year. And I can say two parts happened. I fell into it in 2020 because I had to do it, but I used to do it naturally, and no one ever told me I was doing it. So there's two parts to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell into it because I literally had a freak out moment because my daughter brought a dog home right when things were shutting down, who was sketchy. And yeah,
What does that mean? What's a sketchy dog?
she was just like, she was attached to my daughter, but she was like not about anybody. And I have another cat and a dog. So she was like, whatever, I mean, she was sketchy.
Okay.
So she was also a dog who went in heat. So she wasn't, fixed.
Fixed.
So
Yeah.
she was like, had emotional things.
Yeah.
So, and at one point, I was trying to get her outside and she bit me. And right here, and it was both of our faults. It's
Mm-hmm.
my fault, her fault, because, I'm used to animals. But
Yeah.
I forget, oh, yeah, she's in her cycle now. So long story short, I went down the roller coaster mountain of anxiety because we were already starting to shut down. And here I am with a sketchy dog, trying to get used to the sketchy dog. And here I am with, my daughter, my partner, and we're like, what are we doing? What's happening? Do I have it? I just got through teaching kids. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I went
Yeah.
down this roller coaster, on this roller coaster ride, Snowball down the mountain. And we had to get the dog out of the house, no doubt, because she was just not okay. And it's like we couldn't give her one-on-one care. So we
Right.
took her back to the woman who gave it to us. But my daughter found her with another person who's a dog person. She was trying to get her together too, get the dog together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I, literally was having panic attacks and
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was having a heart attack, and got to the point where I, I, I couldn't sleep, got to the point where I couldn't eat. I couldn't make, I would make food for my family, but I could not eat. I had no desire, no taste to eat. And I was like, is this a physical thing or a mental thing?
Mm.
When you're in it, you don't know. So I talked to my girlfriend. She said, "Hey, why don't you try calling my psychiatrist or my therapist?" So I
Mm-hmm.
called her, and I got it was like a Friday, right?
Uh-huh.
I was literally jacked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to wait for Monday. I called and I got an appointment for Monday. I
That's
don't even know when I
great.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was going to be, of course, a virtual call. And
Yeah.
I had literally I stayed awake Saturday to Monday. And yeah, I swear I probably damaged my heart doing this, but I'm healing myself. So whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to her on the phone for this hour. I'm a talker, obviously. And I'm just giving everything. Because I'm also the kind of person, I've been in therapy before. I'm also the kind of person that I know I'm fucked up. I know I'm fucked up. So, and I can tell you exactly why. I just can't deal with this. So somebody needs to help me,
Right. Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And so we didn't make this PG-13, obviously.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there, I'm talking to her, and I'm drinking water, drinking water, drinking water. And so just unload it. And so I went upstairs, used the bathroom, and just urinated that all that anxiety, all that thing that helped me, all that out. Because I already started physically making myself move, physically
Mm-hmm.
making myself breathe, before I even
Mm-hmm.
talked to her. and really said, okay, I gotta physically mark this time. And
Yeah.
and after I got, talking to her and got rid of all, just urinated all that anxiety out, the ball just literally left me. I have been fine. I swear to God, it's like night and day. Because I didn't want to hear anything about COVID. I didn't want to watch the news.
Yeah.
I didn't want,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting here going, this is not Gina.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
you have that awareness of this is not who I normally show up as, right?
right. And I'm normally, I can take any bad situation and make it positive. Because I've had a
Right.
lot of stuff happen to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is just like, I am just physically caught up in me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's part of it was, if something happens to me, and something did,
Uh-huh.
how am I going to get help?
Yeah.
How am I going to get, with this dog bite? How do
Yeah.
you know it's not going to get infected?
True. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you know this won't be the game? And of course, my partner ruined me by saying, yeah, most of, accidents, most of deaths happen in the home. How are you going to start off the
Thank you so
pandemic with that
much.
shit?
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that was
I'm like,
helpful. How was that
yeah,
helpful?
exactly. Snowball. So, I'm much better now. So, I obviously talk out my anxiety. I obviously breathe out my anxiety. So she said, do insight timer,
Oh, she
you
sent you
know?
the inside
Yeah,
timer.
she said there's some, cause I curse too. There's some cursing meditations. She said, get insight timer. And, I got the yoga app, so I can actually literally do it. Cause I have a girlfriend who had always been, doing yoga. And she and I back in the day used to go and do these like meditations at the lake. Just to bring in, to play with energy balls and things like that.
Yeah.
So I got Insight Timer. And I don't know how I found you, Barbara, but thank God, because your voice, you know what I mean? So it's like, you're the only one I have like done consistently.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
do on Insight Timer, I do the 10, 15, 20-minute meditation, just the sounds, because
Yeah.
I talk so much in my head. I need to have the sound just constantly banging and bringing me back, bringing me back, bringing me back, And
Yeah.
sometimes when I meditate, I have a phrase that I say
Uh-huh.
over and over, so I can just focus on that and not, what is Matilda doing? So
What's
it's
one of
like,
your phrases that you say over and over?
one of the phrases that I say over and over is like, I am okay. I am okay. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you for this day. Thank you for this day.
Mm-hmm.
Things like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or thank you. I love that. Right now when I was just interviewed, or when I leave the kids or do anything, I literally say thank you, thank you, thank you 9 times every time. You know what I
Oh, we
mean?
do that in meditation. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really, people really stop, and they really like, she really
what are
means
you
that.
doing, right?
Yeah, I'm so grateful for this moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that's another thing. I am so grateful for this day.
Yeah.
So I literally fell into the practice because I had to focus on just breathing.
Wow. So you weren't actually practicing before the pandemic.
Not with intent.
Not with intent. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you
And
didn't have like a standard practice before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the only other times that, in my life where it was intent, what done with intent, was when I was pregnant, because I had premature labor all the time.
Okay.
So I had to
ready to come out, ready to come on out. Huh?
Yeah. And they said the in breath and all that breathing, that's just stupid. They don't do that. Don't do that if you're pregnant. If you're having a baby, don't do that. Just in breath follows the out breath.
Yeah.
Period. Okay.
You heard it from Gina.
All the other stuff is hyperventilating in some way, but the in breath follows the out breath. Because I didn't freak out during my pregnancy, and I had a lot of pain because I also had fibroids that reached their maximum blood supply. So I was in bed rest, and I was on things that were large. I was on coding basically during the pregnancy, and
wow,
because I had a lot of pain, so I had to breathe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And literally
Yeah.
everything I did was a breath. And so I didn't call it meditation then,
Yeah.
but that's sure to hell what it was.
Yeah. And I will say too, because you're an artist, and I want you to share,
Hmm.
we're going to lead into that discussion about how what you do through breath work and through meditation fuels that, right? But you're an artist, so when you're creating, we're always in a meditative state. It's not
Right. And you don't
necessarily
know it.
something that people really think about, but when you're creating, to me, you're always in a meditative state.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
have you found doing things on Insight Timer and doing things that are more intentional, has that fueled your artwork in any way? And tell us what type of art you do.
I would say yes. And the kind of art I do is, like I said to the people earlier today, I make art by any means necessary. I'm a trained photographer. I
Mhm.
do ceramics, but to be honest with you, that the idea comes to me visually of
Mhm.
whatever that concept is that I'm working with, and I have to figure out how to make it.
Mhm.
So I think, and I've always been a visual person.
Mhm.
Um, and who really, how you say, dreams, who does dreamscapes. So where I
Okay.
don't do meditation, I do a lot of work in my dreams, and I'm
Ah,
very conscious of what I'm dreaming, and I'm very effective in my
yeah.
dreams. So
Yeah.
whatever I didn't finish in this space, I finish in that space.
Wow.
So that helps, as well as the meditation, because it makes me a little bit more visual. Can you imagine being a little bit more visual? I Yet I don't draw, and I tell people I'm great at stick figures, but it's a whole nother story. So I and if I cannot do that thing, I find someone who can, or
Yeah.
I because I'm a collaborative artist, so
Mhm.
I work with a lot of different people who help make things come to light. And I don't
Yeah.
work with just just this past week, and we did a thing called Rooms to Let, and we created a mural on windows. But the mural wasn't just me. Is I put four photographs, large
Mhm.
photographs in it, and other people. I was a curator along with my group called the Visit Arts Collective. So
Mhm.
we curated, it's 9 people altogether. So we wove these images throughout the entire
Mhm.
window, and everybody else had to weave their stuff within that
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
So things to that effect, you know what I mean? But yeah, Insight Timer gives me that, it makes me shut up so I can and focus, and that
Yeah.
focus helps me really realize that thing, because I'm doing more art now since my daughter's out of here.
Mhm.
Basically, she's in college, so
Mhm.
I'm actually putting more art into the world instead of just thinking about it. Because
Yes.
when you're raising her, when I was raising her and taking care of my grandfather, I
Yeah.
would write it down or just think about it, and I would do some things because I was still
Mhm.
teaching,
Mhm.
but I didn't actualize those things. And now that I'm
Mhm.
making those things a part of the space, it's a whole nother thing.
I
So
love it. And one of my expressions is own your talents, abilities, gifts, and skills, your tags. I love that you recognized it, and now you're taking this opportunity to really put
hmm.
those to use and to put it out into the world. Because what
Right.
I've discovered, and what I believe, is that some of the best artists, singers, writers, creative people will never be heard because they were never able to put their work out without
Right.
feeling,
Or discovered after they are dead and
right.
gone,
Right,
you know
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
and I
But
mean I
it's the power is when you put it out there, it impacts someone. It may not
hmm.
necessarily be on a large scale as
Right.
people think it has to be, but it impacts, you and
Right.
my thing is doing this, doing Insight Time or doing these conversations.
Hmm.
I don't know who's watching because we had this laugh and meditation. I'm like, someone told me I watched all of them. I'm like, well, could you let me know? Because I have no idea, no
Right.
comments, no hearts, no
Yeah, I
anything.
heard you say, "Yeah, put some comments down there,"
Make
so
a comment because and let
yeah.
me know what you like, what and it's going to be what it is, but it's
Right.
it's that kind of thing, is that we don't always get that feedback.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so um putting your work out there is also has its own level of whatever that work is. You have to get to a point where you're okay with doing it, and
Yeah.
not really
Right.
being so caught up about what people say about it, because it's what I need to put out. It's kind of like, I had my baby. I don't care what you think about my baby, right? To some degree,
Right.
because it's like,
Right.
what am I going to say? Your baby's ugly? I mean, who says that, right? You've got an ugly baby. What? But I birthed this, this
Right.
formed inside of me, and I was able to put it out. There is a
Yeah.
lot to be said for that, because so many people don't necessarily express things. They keep it to themselves. So
Right.
I
And
think that's
everybody has a creative spark, and that, I
yeah,
believe. And
yeah,
it may
good
not come out
creators,
in
absolutely.
visual art, it may come out in poetry, it may come out in
Right,
music. I mean,
right,
there's so many different ways that people don't even realize how they're tapped into the source. Just
exactly.
like, even just like with you, the way you speak, it's just like it's such a wonderful cadence and sound to your voice.
Oh, thank
And
you.
and thank goodness you do your voiceover. Thank God.
Well,
Because
my father would say, he got interviewed when I did my book years ago, and he was
uh-huh.
always say, well, she was always very verbal from a little
Thanks,
chap.
Dad. And it's just
Verbal.
like because there's certain tones that are
Yeah,
very soothing,
yeah.
and that's what you have. You know what I mean? So even if I don't physically do what you're saying doing during the meditations, I'm hearing you. So
Okay, well, that's good to know.
like this morning it was funny. It's like when you like circle around, I'm like wiggling a little bit of and I'm like, doing it, but I'm hearing you. You know what I mean? And I'm doing the breathe and I say the vocalizations and whatnot. So
Yeah, yeah, I really like,
I'm
I'm
not
really
quite ready
loving.
to get up.
Well, that's why I say, you may still be in the bed, so just work with me,
Right,
do what
right.
works for you, because I'm up at 6:30 and I'm up. So I'm not gonna do the meditation in the bed yet. I haven't
Yeah,
done that yet. But you never know. If
that's
I can get the
hilarious.
lighting right, that might work. But if
Ah, I
well,
heard that.
what would you say to someone who is considering meditation, if you were to give them a way to start? What would you offer
Well,
them?
and it really depends on the person. And I say that because I was with my cousin the week before,
Uh-huh.
and she was having a panic attack and freaking out because she feels like she's trapped in her
Mm,
house with her 2 kids, and I said, you really probably are suffering from postpartum depression.
mhm,
Um, Beyond the fact that I think she's also manic depressive, so
mm,
it's like, and she's not dealing with it, and so for her, just breathing, you guys just breathe right now. I say to
yeah,
her, breathe, just
yeah,
breathe. She's like, I can't breathe. I got to get out. I'm like, well, you got to breathe. You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? You really
yeah.
do need that. I mean, you really can't hold your, I should have just said, hold your breath.
And then she do the opposite, right? Because that's what we do, the
Right.
opposite of what
Because
people
it's
tell
like,
us to
some
do.
people you need to do, reverse psychology.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And her
yeah.
mom's, a caseworker too. And she's like, um, is trying to get her some help and whatnot. But it's just like, so for her, no, breathing didn't work. She just really wanted to go leave and smoke a doobie, because for her that works. And I'm like, but when you can't get that, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? What do
yeah,
you do? You
yeah,
know, and and in that respect, I would probably start by saying, well, some people just take a walk
yeah.
because you're going to have to naturally breathe. And
Hmm.
it's funny because I was thinking when I was in college, I would walk, and I was at University of Rochester. I would walk from the campus to where I lived, which was near the cemetery, and
Hmm.
I would just zone out and not
Mm.
know how I got home. I did not know.
Yeah,
I would just
yeah,
not know that time passed. So I'm like,
right.
oh, then somebody said there's walking meditation. I'm like, oh, I did that naturally.
Absolutely. And
Nobody
it's,
said what that
yeah.
was,
I
you
used to,
know?
I was thinking about that, because you hear me talk, I walk daily if I can.
Yeah.
And it's in my neighborhood, and it's of course in nature, because, well, I'm in a place where there's trees and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was thinking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to walk when I was in high school around my neighborhood. I
Yeah.
just moved back. I played tennis, but I would just go out I was always doing something where I was
Right.
connecting with walking. And then when I went to college, of course, I walked. Then when I was living in my old neighborhood in Tampa, I
Mm-hmm.
walked. And, I would go to my grandmother's house in Plant City, and I would walk. And one time I got lost. And, luckily
Yeah.
living in the country, I was like, where am I? Because I
Right.
was in that
Right. You
zone.
just walk. You just
I just
go.
walked, and then I stopped. And of course, we're in the country, and I'm like, I'm looking for my grandmother's house at the, oh, Ethel's house is, go down there to, because I'm in the
Yeah,
country, everybody knows them. It's like, yeah, you want to go
exactly.
down there, take a left, take a right. I'm like, okay, because I ended up on some
Yeah,
bizarre off street and I didn't recognize it because
yeah.
I'd never driven back there.
Ah,
So yeah, so walking I think is a great, just move,
yeah,
get, if you
just
can
move,
do
just
it in
move.
nature.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and so many things take over, I mean, and I think about it now when I used to walk in East in here in East Cleveland from home to school,
Hmm.
and those are the days, the the 80s, the early late 70s, early 80s, and so I would be walking. The only thing that would stop me was some stranger would go, "Baby, why don't you smile?" You know what I mean? Or or they would say, "Are you straight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm straight." So
Yeah.
luckily,
Yeah.
I had no idea what they were talking about. Yeah, I'm straight. You know what I mean? But that would be the only thing to break me from that. Because I didn't smile because I'm like focused on where I'm.
Because you're
I wasn't
zoned.
even focused
Yeah.
on. I was zoned out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's my angel saying, "Shh, watch out." You know what I mean? Or but yeah,
Exactly.
I'm straight.
Exactly.
And I used to work in an abortion clinic when I first came out of college, and I
Uh-huh.
had to leave the public transportation and walk through protesters. And I would always surround myself with white light. I would always visualize that, and no one ever
Yeah.
said anything to me. You know what I mean? And I would
Yeah.
carry that white light with me because my whole goal there was, and my whole goal, and I tell people my whole goal for, if it's not going to be, it's not supposed to be, or if it's not
Yep.
supposed to be, it's not going to be.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
don't have to be the physical intervention. It's, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tell people when it comes to that thing, if it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be, it won't,
That's right. Yeah.
with or without our physical intervention.
That's
And
right.
so and I had to do that because my mom was raised Catholic, and I
Mm-hmm.
was living with her,
Mm-hmm.
and she
Mm-hmm.
was like all about that's horrible. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
It's powerful, the energy that we can put around ourselves
right.
and what we practice and what we really, it's all about focus and intention. If I'm focusing on someone's gonna accost me as I'm going in here, you're probably gonna
Hmm.
get accosted. I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of how that works. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
it
totally.
becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
so the people I counsel, I would totally make sure their head matched with their heart. If they
Yeah.
went home and had a miscarriage, okay, there you go. Bada
Yeah.
bing, bada boom. And
Right.
that's what
Right.
I clocked every time that happened. Oh, so and so's not coming back. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
so at a certain point, even during this pandemic, I
Uh-huh.
realized I am fucking powerful. You know what I mean? Like we all are, and I am aware of my power because when
Mm-hmm.
my daughter was going down her little dregs of depression, I would
Mm-hmm.
go do energy work on her in the morning and
Mm-hmm.
just like infuse myself with much light and just draw the light and push it on her. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
just like all that this year, or last year because it's now 2021,
Yeah.
just made me aware of the fact that we are energy. Because I do
Yeah.
have people around me. I think I've always known that, but I do have people around me who are just atheists, and
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. And I am not. I don't prescribe to a religion,
Mm-hmm.
and I call myself a child of the universe for a
Yeah.
reason because I really can't dictate these things by means of the language that we know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
because that's limiting in whatever language.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I know these all these things say that I am connected and
Yeah.
that there's something that connects us. And
Yeah.
that thing that connects us, if you can't understand anything else, is energy.
Exactly.
You
And if
know?
you look at it, if you look at, like you said, you don't know why you ended up finding me. And I look at those God winks or whatever you want to call them,
Mm-hmm.
God
Mm-hmm.
connect the dots. It's like, because think about the people that are in your life, how in the world did this person connect with me here and there and all of this? Because it's divine. A guy I talked with, Christian De La Huerta, says it's divine choreography.
Yeah.
It's
Choreography
like,
is a beautiful
I
word
know,
for
and
how
when
you
I
live
say
your
that, I
life.
said I will give you credit for that because I just love that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
because it's like all of these things are being arranged
Yeah.
just for us to come together at the divine time. And I just think
Yeah.
that that is when you really take the time to take life in, right? And really look and reflect and go, wow, because I've had some friends, like the other Gina, got so many
Mm-hmm.
Gina, I've known her since the 90s, and I think
Wow.
back to how we were. I met her because I was writing.
Mm,
I had my very first freelance paid assignment to interview her and her husband, who had a bookstore called The Source.
that's hilarious.
The Source, right? We laugh about that
Damn.
to this day. And here, what, 30 years later,
Yeah, that's
because I
crazy.
had a writing assignment. And
Yeah.
then we connected later on, in more detail, but it was
Uh-huh.
just, we initially met at The Source.
That's hilarious. That's a book
Amazing.
right there.
That exactly. It's like
Or a movie.
I just, sometimes when you say it, it's like, I don't think I really thought about it that way.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah.
like
So
yeah, life is beautiful,
life is beautiful. Life
you
is
know.
beautiful. So tell us about your event that you have. It's a virtual event as
There's
well?
one that's coming up. One
Okay.
just passed, and that's called Room Select. And the one that just passed, it started with houses that are slated to be torn down, and they let artists go inside and turn those houses out, and the community comes and walk through. But this
Hmm.
time we did it outside in public spaces because they're not letting us back in houses, which is fine because that was toxic. So I
Yeah.
mean, or
Yeah.
it could be. So that
Yeah.
just passed, and so the
Okay.
mural that we had, hopefully it'll stay up for 2 years on the windows that we created. I'll try
Okay.
to get a picture of that and show it to you guys.
Yeah.
But the one coming up is called Crossroads. Still we rise, or still I rise. Still we rise.
Okay.
And so you have 12 artists who were supposed to choose a community
Hmm.
and create and work with the community and create art. They were supposed to choose a historical site
Hmm.
and create art around that with the community involved.
Hmm.
And we're all brown folks. We're all Black and brown folks who did it.
Hmm.
And the communities here in Cleveland are very interesting because you hear names like Glenville, like the Glenville riots happened, the Huff riots happened,
Hmm.
things like that years ago. And I chose East Cleveland because I was born and raised there. And
Hmm.
right now, East Cleveland is like 2 steps away from Cleveland, Ohio, but
Okay.
literally.
Yeah.
But that is purely Rockefeller land. This is a
Uh-huh.
lot of this part of Cleveland, anyways. University Circle area is Rockefeller land. So, one of the richest people,
Hmm.
and, partition land off, especially the park that's in East Cleveland.
Hmm.
So the piece that I created is called I Am, and it's located under the bridge that separates a rich part of the community from a poorer part of the community. So it separates
Mm.
East Cleveland from what's called the Cleveland Heights. And
Okay.
that, both when you look at that space, you see, greenery on both sides. It's fertile on both sides. So it's,
Hmm.
you can't tell unless you're in the community who
Yeah.
has and who
Yeah.
doesn't have, right?
Yeah.
Cleveland Heights even recycles. And I just found out that Cleveland Heights didn't have a mayor. Now they're getting ready to get vote in a mayor. So
Ah.
they had like their leadership was different than Cleveland. And I'm like,
Hmm.
that's interesting. So, and just so you know how depressed things are, East Cleveland is at a point where Cleveland is thinking about having them become a part of Cleveland because they really can't. There's so much
Mm.
going on in East Cleveland,
Hmm.
but the homes are exquisite. Of course, the educational system is what it
Yeah.
is, but
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I photographed 21 people holding a sign that says "I am." Two
Hmm.
most powerful words on a planet. I
Yeah.
also videotaped them saying all their I ams. I am this, I am that.
Mm.
And so with this piece, you have all those images in augmented reality underneath this bridge. And
Wow.
it's through a specific app called the Fourth Wall, which is
Hmm.
done by an artist, Nancy Baker Cahill, or Nancy Cahill Baker. I keep forgetting her name. But
Hmm.
it's done through this specific app. Now, the exhibit is also going to be done at the Sculpture Center here in Cleveland, Ohio, too. So the actual physical pieces from all these different
Hmm.
artists are going to be at the Sculpture Center. And
Wow.
we're going to play around with augmented reality with some of the pieces there, too. So you can't see the videos that I
Hmm.
created or the videos that I took with the pieces on the bridge, but you can
Hmm.
see three people um, embedded in augmented reality in the slates because I kept the slates. We had regular slates, chalkboard slates
Okay.
that people wrote I am
Yeah.
on. So
Uh-huh.
those are at the sculpture center, along with the 8x10s of the photographs. So you'll see the video of 3 people saying their I ams
Okay.
if they came to the sculpture center. So I mean that pretty much is the driver for how I teach, because
Mm-hmm.
I want to embed that in all the youth that I'm around, because I really don't want them to have somebody call them out of their name, say
Yeah.
something negative about them that's not true.
Yeah.
So in order for that to happen, they need to state
Yeah.
who they are.
Yeah.
So they know. And, when I really do that teaching in class, I make them get up and say it out loud to everybody.
Yes.
And they make physical art they can hang so everybody can see
There
it.
you go. Exactly.
So we're all responsible now. So if somebody calls somebody out of their name, you can say, oh no, that's not
Right.
so and so, you
That's
know.
right. Yeah. And that's a
So
beautiful practice to teach them young. So
mm-hmm,
as they continue to grow in life, then they own who they are and they're not allowing
exactly.
people to call them outside of their name. So,
Exactly.
how
Yeah.
lovely. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Gina, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience about meditation before we head out?
Um, I next time you take a glass of water,
Mhm.
say thank you. Drink it slowly and say thank you after you drink it. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
right where we are here in Cleveland, it's raining like cats and dogs. At least it was. So the lake is at its highest point. But out west, not so much,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Water is precious. Water is life,
Water is
you
life.
know?
Breath is life. Yeah. Exactly.
So say thank you, take that breath,
Yep.
just breathe when
Just
you're drinking that
breathe. I
glass of
got it
water.
right
Just
here.
breathe.
Right. Just breathe.
Yeah.
Take the breath
Yeah.
and just, thank you is my go-to, one of my go-to phrases. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it's not feeling good, thank you for the fact that I recognize it's not feeling good.
Right.
It's like that
Thank
I
you,
have
because it's going to
feeling that
get
I can
better.
feel. Yeah. So
I'm
thank
not
you.
owning that pain. I don't want that.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for the
Shoot.
fact that I can feel because there's some people that don't have feeling,
Right.
so yeah. Thank you. And thank you so
Oh, thank
much
you. Thank you. Thank you.
for
Thank you.
thank you,
Thank you.
thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
9 times.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so very much. And I appreciate you. And I will let you know when this is coming out. It'll probably be about a month. But
Yay.
for anyone who is watching, please like, subscribe, comment, share, all of the L LCSS, whatever. Do all of that. And if you are interested in being in conversation with me on conversations about meditation, you can always just leave a message or find me on social media. I'm on everything but TikTok. So you can just, that keeps it simple. Just direct message me. And I would love to be in conversation with you about meditation. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Conversations about Meditation. Namaste and be well.